Hello there! My name is Jasom Jensai. Welcome to Star Wars Battles. This battle is Anakin Skywalker versus the clones of the 501st Legion. Star Wars Battles is a series where I analyze a Star Wars character's tactics, mentality, and power and explain what I think would happen if they fought a large group of a particular faction. The battlefield for this duel will be the wreckage from the Battle of Jakku. This battle will have Anakin Skywalker during the time of the very end of the Clone Wars, hunted by 40 of the standard unnamed troopers from the 501st Legion. While you watch, tell me in the comments, how many clones do you think it will take to kill Anakin? Do you believe Obi-Wan would do any better, and what is your favorite group of clones? Anakin Skywalker is noble, brave, and passionate. He is a hero. Anakin led the 501st into battle hundreds of times. But what would happen if he fought against them? Anakin Skywalker is the most naturally talented Jedi of his time. He started his training when he was only 9 years old, but he surpassed all of the Jedi of his age in skill. Even before the Clone Wars, Anakin could jump several stories down through heavy traffic and onto a speeder. In Season 1, Episode 13, Anakin defeats 2 MTTs, half a dozen Super Battle Droids, and a few Battle Droids while recovering from injuries. In Season 2, Episode 13 of the Clone Wars, Anakin takes out a dozen Super Battle Droids alone. In Episode 3, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin was able to take out tens of battle droids. One of Anakin's greatest abilities is his reflexes. His reflexes are why he is such a great pilot and why he is an excellent warrior. Anakin is skilled, tough, fast, and creative. Anakin is the chosen one. He has extreme power in the Force. Anakin can easily destroy 3 super battle droids with one Force push. In Season 1, Episode 11, Anakin is chased by a Gundark. He uses the Force to block the Gundark with a few tons of rock. Later, he launches rocks at the Gundark very fast. Anakin has more than just power. In the book Thrawn Alliances, Anakin uses the Force to make a corpse look alive. Anakin had to simultaneously move the knees, the hips, torso, shoulders, elbows, fingers, neck, lungs, mouth, and eyes, everything. It might seem easy to impersonate life, but it is far more intricate than it seems. Anakin had to do all of this with less than 10 minutes to practice, and while acting normally. Later in the book, in a Separatist base, Anakin turns off the lights and uses the Force to activate and wield his lightsaber from a distance, impersonating a Jedi. Anakin is strong and bold. Anakin's usual strategy for dealing with swarms of enemies is to rush forward and overwhelm them with speed and surprise. He uses a blend of Form 4 and Form 5. Anakin is fast and often simply dodges blaster fire, but every few blasts that are shot at him will be deflected back to the source by Anakin's lightsaber. Anakin rushes towards his enemies, leaping off of walls and deflecting their blaster fire back towards them. When Anakin gets close enough, he will begin slashing through his enemies relentlessly, sweeping through and destroying them. In Season 1, Episode 18 of the Clone Wars, when he thought he was ambushed by several dozen battle droids, he immediately rushed towards them. In 5 seconds, he had destroyed 18 defenseless battle droids before realizing that they were not fighting back. Anakin is a creative tactician. In the Second Battle of Geonosis, Anakin and Luminar defeat the super tanks by destroying the bridge and dropping them into the canyon. In the Battle of Ugonna, Anakin destroyed the Separatist tactical droid right before launching an unconventional jetpack assault against the confused and overwhelmed Separatists. During the attack on the Citadel, Anakin broke through the Separatist blockade by using a team of reprogrammed battle droids to fly the ship and freezing his team in carbonite. Anakin is very creative, bold, and confident. Anakin is an experienced warrior. He has demonstrated incredible skill, speed, and toughness. But beyond that, Anakin has confidence. Anakin is bold and creative. He can come up with a unique plan and pull it off. Anakin is a formidable warrior and a bold tactician. The 501st Legion is one of the most famous legions in the Grand Army of the Republic. The 501st has hunted Jedi 3 times. In Revenge of the Sith, the 501st Legion attacked the Jedi Temple. Every single Jedi was killed. Even with the help of Anakin, that is extremely impressive. Unfortunately, in the movie, we see the 501st march in, and we see a few main characters visit the Jedi Temple soon after, but we miss the battle. During Season 4, Episode 10 of the Clone Wars, the 501st and the 212th battle the traitor General Skywalker. During the battle, the 501st fit as many clones as they can into the elevator to confront Krell in the command center, while the rest make sure he cannot escape. The clones in the command center slowly surround Krell while Rex talks to him. Krell is able to escape. He leaps out the window and runs away into the forest. The clones decide to split into groups of about 20 and sweep the forest while keeping each other within binocular sight. Krell attacks and they attempt to overwhelm him until they realize that they are being overwhelmed themselves. At that point, the clones try to pin Krell down and come up with a new strategy. One clone leads Krell towards a vicious carnivorous plant which attacks Krell and defeats him. In Season 7, Episode 11 and 12, the clones attempt to overwhelm and find Ahsoka while setting a trap in a hangar. The hangar can fit far more clones at once than the hallways can, so the clones decided to make the final confrontation in the hangar. The clones are smart, they know how to set traps, and they know when to overwhelm their enemies. Each trooper in the 501st is a skilled warrior. Together, the 501st Legion is a powerful force. Anakin is a skilled warrior. His battlefield skills have developed throughout the Clone War. By the end of it, Anakin was seen as one of the greatest generals of the entire war. Unlike most conventional generals, Anakin leads his troops to the front lines. Anakin is a warrior and a tactician, but he would not be able to achieve his victories alone. The 501st traveled with Anakin to hundreds of battlefields during the war and won victory after victory for the Republic. Anakin and the 501st make a great team. What would happen if they were enemies? Anakin would probably use his superior speed and his Jedi reflexes to escape to the crashed Star Destroyer. The Star Destroyer has more cover than the desert and is big enough to force the clones to split up to look for him. The Star Destroyer was originally built to easily walk through, but it is now deteriorated and on its side, meaning that most people need to climb to move around inside. But Anakin is a Jedi. Vertical movement is one of Anakin's specialties. Anakin can leap far higher than most people, giving him a massive mobility advantage. Also, it's dark inside the Star Destroyer. The clones have glow rods on their helmets, but Anakin can use the Force to sense his surroundings. The Star Destroyer has lots of loose debris, which means Anakin has lots of creative ways he can use the Force. Unfortunately for Anakin, the 501st are very good at using specialized equipment, because he often gave them unique strategies that used those tools. The clones can use grapplers to move around and small charges to clear debris, so Anakin's advantages are not as significant as they would be against most soldiers. Before I tell you what I think would happen, tell me who you think would win with a comment. Anakin was in another desert. The planet was Jakku. Jakku's sand was slightly finer and less coarse, but the main difference was not the sand, it was the wreckage. All around Anakin lay the remains of fallen starships. They had been weathered for at least 20 years, although it was difficult to tell on a desert planet. Anakin suddenly sensed the disturbance. An ambush, blaster bolts everywhere, too many of them. Without even thinking, Anakin rolled to the side and ignited his lightsaber, turning to face the enemy. Anakin could see the 501st running towards him, rushing from cover to cover while firing their blasters at him. Thinking quickly, Anakin ran sideways toward the largest ship in the desert, a fallen Star Destroyer. Anakin barely reached the Star Destroyer. The clones would expect him to run further for at least a few dozen seconds, but Anakin needed to see what the clones were planning. After less than a minute, the clones charged into the Star Destroyer and split into two groups. Doc marched along with his brothers through the dark passages. All 20 troopers have their helmet lights on and are constantly on the alert for Jedi. Suddenly, Doc heard the distinctive sound of a lightsaber igniting, and he whirled around to see a flash of the Jedi leaping over the heads of the clones, slashing part of the wall, slicing part of the ceiling as he leapt to the other wall, and cutting the wall one last time. The Jedi deflected the first few blaster bolts from the clones, but he dodged most of them as he jumped away, landing right in front of Doc. With blinding speed, the Jedi swung his blade around through two clones on Doc's right, before deflecting Doc's own blaster fire into Doc's arm, between the armor plates. As he did this, the Jedi lifted his left hand and brought it down. The ceiling collapsed right by where the Jedi had slashed it. The collapse killed two more clones, but its main effect was to split the clones up. Now it was 8 clones against 1 Jedi. Bad odds for the clones. Doc tried to move his arm, but it was too injured. As he reached over to grab his blaster with his left hand, Doc saw the Jedi rush towards the other 7 clones, deflecting blaster fire on the way. By the time he reached the clones, 2 clones had already been hit by their own blasters. As Doc lifted his blaster towards the Jedi swung his lightsaber around in a wide arc, slashing 3 clones across the face, and then he thrust out his hand, knocking the other 2 clones into the walls, without even touching them. Doc squeezed the trigger and felt the knockback from his blaster, but the Jedi had already begun moving. The Jedi's blade flashed across his body, and Doc's blaster bolt bounced off the Jedi's blade and slammed into his chest, killing him. The first attack had been successful, but Anakin was not out of danger yet. There were still dozens of clones left, and all trying to kill him. Anakin had decided to do the unexpected. Rather than run away and sneak up on his enemies again, he would attack suddenly, swiftly, and decisively. Anakin gathered his strength and blasted back the rubble he had used to separate the clones with a powerful force push. 5 of the 8 clones were killed by the flying rubble, but the other 3 immediately recovered from their surprise and gave Anakin his own surprise. The clones all flashed on their lights right at Anakin's face, temporarily blinding him. The 3 clones fired their blasters at the Jedi, but he used his instincts to deflect the blaster attacks. By the time Anakin's eyes recovered, he had already killed 1 clone with his own blaster fire, but the other 2 were retreating as they shot at him. Anakin burst into action. In a flash, Anakin had deflected a blaster bolt into one of the clones' neck and stabbed the other through the chest. But before Anakin had a chance to get away from the most obvious place for the other 20 clones to look, they arrived. 10 clones charged out of nowhere, firing at Anakin. Anakin deflected some blaster fire, but there was too much. Anakin ripped the durasteel panel off the ceiling and briefly used it as cover, but one of the clones rolled a pair of thermal detonators towards Anakin. Anakin slammed his makeshift shield over the thermal detonators and slammed the clones back with a desperate force push. All 10 clone troopers flew backwards, slamming into walls. Just as Anakin thought he was free, the last 10 clone troopers appeared on the other side, already firing. They would have arrived sooner, but they had to take several detours to get to Anakin's location. Anakin easily fell back into blaster deflection mode. Unfortunately, there was too much blaster fire. Anakin was pinned down. All his focus was on the blaster bolts, so he could not get any closer. But Anakin was slowly thinning their numbers. Despite the overwhelming amount of blaster fire and the cover that the troopers were using, Anakin had already taken out 2 of the clones before the first 30 seconds. But the clones on the other side began an attack. After Anakin's force push, many of the clones were killed by either the force of the impact or the sharp edges of the weathered starship. However, 3 of the clone troopers survived. The blaster fire from the 10 clones was difficult enough, but now Anakin was faced with 11 clone troopers from 2 sides. Anakin launched another bold attack towards the 3 troopers behind him. In an instant, Anakin dashed towards the 3 clones and slashed 2 of them down. The last one tried to tackle Anakin, but Anakin stabbed him through the stomach. But the sacrifice was not in vain. With his lightsaber stuck inside the heroic trooper's stomach, the last 10 were able to finally overwhelm the Jedi. The 501st is famous for its victories. While its general is a legendary hero of the Republic, he would never have been victorious alone. Every individual trooper in the 501st is a skilled warrior, but put 40 of them together, and you have a truly powerful force. So with that, thanks for listening to what I think about Anakin Skywalker versus the 501st. Comment any criticisms, disagreements, compliments, agreements, or questions you had about the video. If you enjoyed the video, I would like to draw your attention to the like button. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing to the channel. Have an exciting rest of your day. May the Force be with you.